With the exception of the lost levels, Super Mario Land is easily my least favorite in the main Mario series. Keep in mind, I'm only saying that because it has a lot of competition. Instead of the groundbreaking masterpieces that most Mario games are, this is just kind of an above-average okay platformer. It absolutely deserves credit for being a playable platforming game on the Game Boy, especially as a launch title for the system. It's just that now that I've played Kirby's Dream Land and Mario Land 2, which are both far superior, I just see Mario Land as a worse version of the original Super Mario Bros. Easily my biggest complaint I have against this game is the control. I consider the best part of Super Mario Bros. To be its incredible and precise controls, and this game does not have them. There's just a slight awkwardness to every single move you make. You stop and start very abruptly, which makes it kind of annoying to do precision jumping. What makes that especially annoying is that precision jumping is this entire series. Another thing that's kind of weird is that when you drop off a platform without jumping, you drop extremely fast. Vertically, your movement is pretty much exactly the same as it is on the consoles, except for this. There was a number of times where I was trying to drop on an enemy and then I dropped way too fast and took a hit. It's not a huge deal, you can get used to it, but it's just weird. The controls are really the only problem I have with the game. It's funny that I consider the games with the worst control in the series to be this and Sunshine, and they're both in exotic locations. Oh yeah, speaking of which, this game doesn't take place in the Mushroom Kingdom. It's in a place called Sarasaland. Sarasaland is apparently run by Daisy, who's introduced here. The plot is that you have to go through 4 kingdoms in Sarasaland named Birabuto, Muda, Easton, and Chai, and you go through all of these absurdly named lands to go fight an alien named Titanga to save Daisy. The 4 aforementioned kingdoms are the 4 worlds you have to go through, and assuming they're in order, this one is Birabuto. Based on the pyramids and the Sphinx and the hieroglyphs that appear in the last level, it's clearly supposed to be Egypt. On a positive note, I do really enjoy this game's simplistic art style. It kind of has a minimalist thing going on, where all of the stuff from the old games is super simple, and I like that. The gameplay is very similar to the original Super Mario Bros. With a couple differences here and there. For example, Super Mushrooms are exactly the same as they are in the original games, but here instead of a fire flower, you get a ball flower. It shoots a projectile that ricochets off of everything it touches. It's kinda neat, but there are very few circumstances where I would say it's more useful than just having a fire flower. It's useful for hitting stuff above and below you, but when you're on flat ground with an enemy, you have to be inches away from them. The most useful thing about it is that you can use it to collect coins. The problem is there are several areas and parts of the game where it's necessary to have it to get coins, meaning that sometimes you'll just go through a pipe and find an area where you can't get any coins because you need a ball flower and you took a hit 5 minutes ago. Koopa Troopas explode in this one instead of leaving behind shells. It's just kind of a weird change, and I don't know how I feel about it, to be honest. One thing I do like about this game is that the Starman theme is the can-can music. I think that's a really fitting choice because the energy of the song fits perfectly with the fact that you run around like a madman whenever you get it. In fact, all of the music in this game is really good. The composer for this game was Hirokazu Tanaka, who also composed the music for Metroid, Kid Icarus, and Earthbound. He also made the Tetris theme, so this guy has an incredible resume. Anyway, at the end of each level, you get a platforming section where there are 2 doors at the end. The top door is harder to get into, but if you can manage it, you get to play a mini-game where you can win 1-ups. The minigame is pretty much just hitting a button and hoping you'll get something good. I guess that you could try to time it to get a good reward, but good luck with that. The second level of the game is very similar to the athletic courses from the first game. It's in this level where I become aware of this game's habit of reusing portions of the same level, sometimes mere screens apart from each other. I also learned that 1-ups are hearts in this game, presumably because they couldn't just make a mushroom of a different color because there are only 4 colors. The final level of World 1 is an underground area with hieroglyphs. hieroglyphs on the wall. Also, piranha plants in this game are terrifying. Look at how malnourished and gross they look. What's wrong with them? Moving on, the boss of World 1 is a sphinx that you jump over like Bowser. It was honestly very, very anticlimactic. After that, you meet a Daisy decoy who says, "Thank you, Mario." Oh. Daisy. And then she turns into an enemy. I have no idea what "Oh, Daisy" is supposed to mean. The only way that it would make any sense would be if Mario was saying it, and that would be really weird. At the start of World 2, you get out of an alien spaceship for some reason. I immediately take note of the fish bones jumping out of me, and then fall victim to this game's jumping physics. The game proceeds to rub it in my face that I died and don't have a ball flower, since there's an enormous pocket of coins that I just can't quite jump to, and I would need a ball flower to shoot them. It ended up working out okay because the next level has a room just like it, and I had one that time. The last level of World 2 takes place underwater in a submarine, which is pretty cool. It's a little bit slow and boring, and it doesn't really have any depth at all, but I can appreciate its ambition. The coolest thing about this level was the giant coin wall with Mario written out. Going back to the repeating screen thing, there's this really weird coin formation that I didn't understand at all. That was until I realized that it's just the cut off left side of the M. They reuse that area of the screen but don't leave the rest of the word in, leading to a very unnatural and bizarre coin formation that makes no sense until you replay it and realize what it is. The boss of this world is a seahorse that shoots at you on a wall. It's really easy. Similar to a later boss in this game, all you really have to do is keep hitting the fire button and dodge. Another kind of funny thing is that the level doesn't end after you beat him. Instead, you have to shoot a bunch of blocks at the bottom to hit the switch to end the level. World 3 is called Easton, and since it's based on Easter Island, that name actually kind of makes sense. This is where the game kind of gets hard because there were a bunch of jumps that I just barely missed because of the awkward physics. I would especially like to shout out this part. Here you either have to jump onto a pipe with the piranha plant or with a bomb Koopa Troopa, which is not an ideal situation, and you have to be pretty quick if you want to avoid the bomb. After that, you get introduced to this game's Bill Blasters, which inexplicably come out of pipes here. Then this game has the audacity to introduce these boulders which look like they'd kill you that you have to jump on. They're honestly not that bad, but it's really confusing the first time you play, since you think you're just at a dead end here. 3-2 is set in a cave, and it's an extremely annoying level. The worst part probably being the spike that gives you no indication that it's going to fall. On top of that, there are two enemies, a jumping spider and a hanging spider, that are both very annoying and not fun. Then near the end, there's another boulder part where the boulders go off a cliff, and I was really nervous at this part because I thought I was gonna get a game over. I had a really bad time with this one because I was stressed all the way through. 3-3 is kind of forgettable, except that it has this one terrible part where you have to fall down. I like the towers of heads in the background though, they're kinda cool. The boss of World 3 is another Easter Island head that throws boulders. You have to jump on his boulders to get over him to hit the switch, so this time, instead of one jump to beat the boss, it's two jumps. Ooh. World 4 is set in the Kingdom of Chai, and I'll give you one guess as to where that's based on. This world had a lot more annoying platforming parts than the other three. There's also a new enemy that gets back up with zero warning after you jump on it. That's cool, woohoo. This level has so many unreasonably difficult parts like the piranha plant cave, the falling platforms, and the nightmare of bullet blasters that makes it unfairly annoying. After that, 4-2 has so many parts that just feel incredibly cramped and awkward. I don't have a problem with this game's difficulty, but so much of it is difficult in an unfair and stupid way. Dying over and over again because I fail to take into account this game's incredibly weird physics should not be the hardest part of the game. Luckily, the last level of the game does not have any weird physics because it's another shooting level. It kinda has a similar vibe to the flying stages in Cuphead, which I'm a fan of. But the stage's problem is that it repeats itself so much that it gets really old in about 5 seconds. For some reason, this world has two bosses, one of which is a cloud. It bounces around like the logo on a DVD screen, and all you have to do is shoot it a few times, and it can't really defend itself. Its only attack is spawning enemies that if you're firing at it, you will kill automatically. After the cloud, you fight Topanga and his spaceship. All he can do is move around and shoot one kind of bullet over and over again, and once again, all you have to do is dodge it and keep firing, and eventually he'll die. He's a pretty easy final boss, all things considered, but he's still better than Ganon, so congratulations, Topanga. After that, you save Daisy and fly off in a plane while the credits roll. And that's the game. I would complain about how short it is, but to be fair, it was never made to be an equal to the console games. This game was designed to be a fun little diversion on the go, so as long as it was more entertaining than staring at a wall, it fulfilled its mission. I didn't care for it that much looking back at it, but I can absolutely respect it for how important it was to Game Boy games as a whole. I mean, obviously it's going to be worse than the NES games. I would be an idiot to expect the same level of quality. And despite how often it reuses screens and how annoying certain parts of the levels are, for a launch title on the Game Boy, considering all the terrible things I've heard about it, I was expecting much worse when I first played it. A downgraded version of an amazing game still holds up relatively okay. I guess now that I've done 3 Game Boy games, I'll start a ranking of them, although I'm not ranking every single Game Boy game. There are enough NES games out there, and honestly, I feel like the Game Boy games might actually kill me. Speaking of NES games, I'm doing one of them next. This has been a nice little detour reviewing Kirby's Dream Land and Super Mario Land, but I think I'm ready to get back to it. Anyway, 6 out of 10, thank you for watching. Have a good day, like and subscribe. Bye!